game-changing discussions on the big ideas that shape our thinking. This is One2One. Previously on One2One.
The truth is that I did not start in the public service.
Absolutely.
So I started my life in the private sector.
Yes.
So I had a fair amount of idea
Yes.
of what works and what will make an industry thrive. And that was an advantage I had
Going into the public sector.
going into the public sector.
So I think it's fair to say, therefore, that your DNA is in the private sector.
Yeah.
And as you've said, you spent just 10 years of a long, illustrious career
Yes, that's
in the public sector.
Yes,
but if I could just ask you very quickly, I mean, since you're very firmly from the private sector, I mean, what does it take, really, in your opinion? What does it take to make a good chairman on board?
Okay. To make a good chairman, you must make sure you draw a distinction between being a non-executive and an executive. That's the important thing. A chairman also must be somebody that is respected by the other board members in a company. I'm actually privileged to work with a very good crop of board members in the MTN board who are high-level performers on their own. So it's actually a very strong board. So our board meetings are usually interesting to be part of because people are free to express themselves and give suggestions on various issues. So to be a good chairman, you must make sure your ability to guide meetings, be able to listen to all shades of opinion, be able to control timing of interventions of people. And of course, for a big company like MTN, you also get involved in a number of issues, sometimes political issues you have to, because you're seen as part of the face of the company.
Of course.
You have to earn the respect of the industry and the political establishment and things like that. Apart from that, is the usual making sure that the company is well run, of course with the support of the other board members, and that the company does not lose focus.
Of course.
And that's why every year we have strategy retreats when we decide what we need to do for the next year. And then we make sure that those things are done well.
So, Dr. Ndukwe, I think it's fair to say that telecoms in this country, and certainly in your era at the NCC, unlocked a digital economy for this country, Nigeria. We can, of course, speak about, to what extent we have tapped into that potential. But where do you see the next big revolution coming from? Is it broadband, fintech? You talked about fiber optics or AI, maybe also.
Yes, I would have said AI. AI is a very big area. AI application is all over. And both for the operational side and for the customer side, it makes easier for us to be able to control our operations better. Many of the processes are now AI-driven. It also helps with cybersecurity. It also helps with all kinds of things in the industry. For the consumer, there are AI applications that are embedded in the terminal equipment that they use, whether it's an iPad or a mobile phone. People now interrogate ChatGPT on their phones and everything. and they use it to work and do all kinds of things today. So I think AI is the next big thing. But I had talked about optic fiber infrastructure.
Absolutely.
We're still backward. That's why sometimes when they say that we've grown, I accept, but we can be bigger than we are today. We need more optic fiber installations around the country.
And across Africa.
And across Africa. The sooner our political leaders realize the importance of this, the better for everybody. Right of way, right of way, right of way. Even to get base stations built in some parts of this country can be a big problem. To get permission to install a base station can be a big uphill task. So it's so important that right-of-way issues are resolved all across this country and perhaps all across the continent, that operating companies are given the free hand to do what they have to do, and government provides the guidelines. Once those are in place, people know what to do. They know where to invest in and put a lot of effort into making sure that those investments happen. We need to make sure that all our educational institutions have high-speed internet. It's very painful. You know, I was reading something about how China transformed in that sector. When internet was started in the US, when it got to China, the Chinese, first of all, concentrated it in their educational institutions. Today, they're leading, even in that sector.
Sure.
In the ICT area, a lot of patents that are coming into stream today are maybe 50-60% are from China. Registered patents in Geneva and places like that, in the area of 4G, 5G, and 6G that is coming up soon. So that is very important. That
of course.
Make sure.
Of course. So I'd like us to talk about the Nigerian example. Mobile phone penetration in this country is about 85%, they say. As of February 2023, there were 227 million active mobile phone lines in Nigeria, 157 million active internet subscriptions. Approximately 93% of all internet users access the internet through their smartphones, through this device right here. However, of course, there is still an issue with the speed of connectivity. And over half of Africa is still offline. What do we need to do? Of course, things like this have an impact, a direct impact on education, other industries, because we're attempting to unleash economic growth across several sectors enabled by technology. How can Africa close this digital divide, and what can we do to speed up internet access in this country and across the continent?
Yeah, I go back to my initial statement about fiber without borders. Fiber optic cables provide the links for high-speed internet. They say a chain is as strong as the weakest link. Without fiber to the base station, you won't have high-speed internet. So it goes back to that thing I talked about, right of way. And by the way, it's not a Nigerian problem alone. It's an Africa-wide problem.
Absolutely.
In those days that telecom was evolving, in some countries it was easier to route a call through the UK and back to Africa, because African countries could not link themselves terrestrially. They had to depend on a satellite link through a switching contraption in Europe to be able to reach another African country. Nigeria actually changed part of that because of a few companies in Nigeria decided to extend fiber cable infrastructure across the West African coast. But ideally, Nigeria and South Africa should be linked by fiber. Luckily, we have this, undersea cable.
Main one.
Main one and all that. There are about 6 or 7 of them on the West African coast that have provided some of this needed connectivity. But within the countries themselves, because this cable lands at the shore, you need infrastructure to take them to the various parts of that country, to the universities, to the major cities, to the rural areas and all that.
That's the weak link.
If you don't have those, that's the weak link. If you don't have those connections, then you have a problem. So that is why it starts from within the country itself, that people must understand, our leaders, our governors, local government chairmen, and people in that places of authority, those places of authority should be able to realize the importance of this infrastructure for the development of the economy of that particular area and attract investments to those places, especially linking our educational institutions to that internet is so critical.
Absolutely.
So my solution is right of way. We should just make sure that we open up. There was a paper I wrote 10, 12 years ago, and I titled this, Open Up to Link Up. You open up the market so that you can link yourselves. And it's so critical. And I did this paper several years ago. Up till today, we are still talking about the reluctance of the establishments to make sure that they open up. And many of them, they keep talking about, what do you call this thing, IGR. They want to collect the money upfront. Meanwhile, the business case must be proven first before you start collecting returns from the investment. So when you put high tariffs up, you don't encourage investment in those areas.
Absolutely.
You know, like what we were saying about the power sector is the same thing. Today, people are talking about what people will pay for electricity.
Fixing tariffs.
Don't talk about tariff.
Yes.
Talk about investment.
Absolutely.
Let the discos, those gencos, let them just keep investing. Let them charge whatever tariff they want to charge. And I tell them, I can have 20 electric bulbs in my house. I can decide to only put on 1 or 2 when I need them. But let there be electricity anytime I want it. I can control how much consumption I make, not necessarily by the tariff. And in those days that I used to do a lot of road travels, I'll be passing through some cities in Nigeria, and I notice an outside light in a particular compound still on by 11 a.m. in the morning, which means they're not paying attention to how much they consume. That is in those days of NEPA.
Yes.
And public electricity supply. But when you have a free reign, let people decide. If I don't have money for 2 bulbs, I only installed 1 and switch on 1 when I need it, but let there be electricity when I want it.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing in all of these sectors, that we just have to give right of way to those who want to make investments in optic fiber cable, investment in base stations in rural areas. You should actually incentivize them to come to those places to build networks, because you know the multiplier effect that will have on the local environment.
Sure. I'd like to talk briefly about MTN's contribution to society in terms of sports, entertainment, and fashion. MTN, of course, is quite a phenomenal organization. You've described it as a very well-run company. It's managed to insert itself in a very ubiquitous manner into the lives of Nigerians and Africans as well, Nigerians home and abroad, and people all over the continent. We've had a number of people on this program, whether it's Studio Ndukwe, talking about what MTN is doing with him and Chess and Slums Africa, Bambo Akoni and his MTN Champs. Can you talk to me a bit about MTN's further plans to continue to give back, with the emphasis on giving back over the next few years?
Yes, our main vehicle for giving back is what is called the MTN Foundation. MTN Foundation gets 1% of the profit of the organization every year. You must have heard a few things that MTN has done in terms of intervention in the sports area.
Sure.
But quite honestly, we've done much more. I was telling my people at the foundation that they are not publicizing the kind of impact they're having on everybody. Today, we get involved in providing science equipment in secondary schools around the country. We do ICT labs across the country. A lot of things we do for even the less privileged, those who are physically challenged, the blind, and groups of that nature. And it gives us pleasure to be able to give back to the society. We support also music and the art. We have a very long-standing relationship with the Muson Center in Lagos here. And it's actually national, and we take pleasure in being able to give back.
Yes.
And of course, we support the Nigerian Football Federation in their quest to improve their performance generally. So every year we give back in that regard.
Absolutely. And there's no doubt really about the scale and size of MTN's endeavours in giving back.
Yeah.
But we are, of course, speaking about one of Africa's biggest companies. Do you feel, as chairman of the board, that you are doing enough, or that MTN is doing enough, commensurate with the
size of
the country, and perhaps it's the profits it's reaping from this country of 220 plus million
I think
people?
we're doing a lot. The definition of what is enough
Perhaps it's a moral and ethical question.
is something else. During the COVID, for instance, we spent billions of naira on supporting the COVID initiatives. We've even currently, we're supporting the Ministry of communications and digital infrastructure in what they are trying to do in various aspects of interventions. Some of them, many people might not know, but we are very, very active in giving back. And we're actually ready to do more. What we also always look out for is to make sure that whatever we spend is well spent and is directed at where it will make the most impact.
Of course.
So we are very, very particular about that. And once we are convinced that the money is directed in the right direction, MTN is usually very willing to do even more than we are doing at the moment.
So, Dr. Ndukwe, we off air before we started this interview, you talked about the fact that you are enjoying your time as chairman of MTN, and that's really important, isn't it?
Yes, very important.
That you are enjoying what you are doing.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to the subject of legacy and ask you, when you reflect on your legacy at this stage in your career, what is it that gives you the greatest sense of fulfillment out of everything that you've done so far?
Legacy is very important. I don't think there are many people who are as fortunate as I am in terms of my involvement in the telecom industry. I started life as an engineer, worked in the private sector, rose through the ranks to become the managing director of the company, transited to government, and was at the forefront of the development of this industry to the point where it's described as a telecom revolution in the country, and I was there at the center of it. Then, coming out from there, 8 years later, after leaving NCC, here I am at the private sector again, leading one of the biggest companies in Nigeria and perhaps the biggest company in the telecom industry. It's a big privilege for me to be in that position and be able to say that my effort is helping shape the industry in more ways than one. That I was there at the onset of the revolution, saw it through for 10 years, and then left, and then being part of the private sector charge in that particular area. So it's something that when you talk about legacy, I would say that the satisfaction I have is from the fact that I was lucky to be there at these stages of the transformation of the industry. Of course, by the time I joined MTN was already a success story. It wasn't as if Ernest Ndukwe was the one that transformed the MTN organization. It actually, I had a stint actually at the Lagos Business School. And LBS, the process is through case study methods. And MTN was a case study, even at that time that I was there at the LBS.
Exactly.
There's those 8 years I was still not involved. After I left NCC, I was a member of faculty at the Lagos Business School. By the way, I'm still on the faculty, even up till now. So, going back, MTN is a case study even in that school because it transformed very fast and built a company that is respected both locally and internationally.
Of course.
And the good thing about MTN today, if I may say, is that 97% of the staff of MTN Nigeria actually Nigerians. It's not really a foreign company, it's a local Nigerian company.
And that is not to be taken for granted.
No, it shouldn't be taken for granted at all. Secondly, it has many Nigerian shareholders. Unlike many other companies that are talked about as Nigerian companies that are owned by one person or a couple of people or 5 people, this one, there are thousands of Nigerians who are proud shareholders of MTN Nigeria. So for all intents and purposes, a Nigerian registered company is a full, in all respects, a Nigerian company. And all the staff, or rather a good percentage of the staffing are Nigerians, very professional people from all over the country that are manning the place.
Yes. It has been a most enjoyable interview. Dr. Ernest Ndukwe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
On One2One.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, my friend.
Real pleasure.
Well done.
A real pleasure.